started. So my name is Annette Leva. I am the Regional Solutions Coordinator for Governor Pete Brown for South Central and Central Oregon. The vision for Regional Solutions is to align state resources, whether those are staff capacity, information, grant programs, to align those state resources with other public-private philanthropic investments to address locally identified economic development priorities. Housing is something that has come up as a real need here in Lakeview. We've heard from, so I have an advisory committee that works with me to identify priorities. I've got a team of state agency staff that we look to, that are sort of the front lines of looking across what they have to offer to address those priorities. So a number of advisory committee members, Commissioner Winters is on the advisory committee. Jane O'Keefe is our convener for South Central. Those are all the advisory committee members. A number of us have heard from different employers about challenges with attracting people to Lakeview because there are issues with finding a home to live in, and it could be permanent or temporary. So our agenda today, I think we're going to start with a round of introductions, even though that's not on our agenda. We'll start with that. And then really, we want to hear from employers how much housing is needed and what types. So is it permanent? Is it seasonal? Are they 3-bedroom homes? Are they apartments? Kind of what are the needs that you're hearing from your employees that you have. Then we're going to hear from the town of Lakeview about available sites and from Lake County, home sites that are already maybe served with infrastructure or could be easily served with infrastructure. And then I'm hoping that, I know we have at least one builder here, but I'm hoping we can hear from folks about what are the barriers to actually building homes if you're a builder. So that we can, I see this meeting as maybe being the first of other meetings. Depending on what we learn today, we'll be able to identify follow-up steps. So with that, why don't we start right over here with you, Janine, and you can do a quick round of introductions.
I'm Janine Cannon, I serve as town planner for Lakeview.
Linda Conroy, and I'm a real estate agent.
Susie Gale, Concord Realty. I'm not going to remember all these names, just telling you. But thank you all for coming.
Charlie Twig with Lake Health District.
Ginger Castro with SCOED.
Scott Edelman with Oregon Department of Land Conservation and Development.
Scott Stoffel with the Fremont-Wayne National Forest.
Mike Ramsey with the Fremont-Wayne National Forest.
Brad Wonders, Lake County Commissioner.
Jane O'Keefe, I'm the governor's convener for Regional Solutions.
Randy Cox, Klamath Economic Development Association.
I'm Bowie Tay Construction. Rob Hernandez with 5 Development.
Tom Hall with 5 Development.
Betty Riley, SCOED.
Mark Nelson, IBW Local 659.
Joaquin Morales from Red Rock Biofuels.
Melanie Mazzini, Lake County Commissioner's Assistant.
Michael Acosta, Lake County Examiner.
Sandra Watts, just nobody. That's okay.
Chuck Kelly from TJ's Family Fund Center.
Mark Albertson, Lake County Commission.
Steve Brown, Warner Creek Correctional Facility.
Ken Kessner, St. Louis Lake Health District Board, plus Klamath Lake Community Action Service.
Excellent. And as the agenda notes, I've been working with the South Central Oregon Economic Development District and with the Chamber on planning this meeting. So you want to introduce yourself real quick?
Oh, yeah.
Hi.
Hi, I'm Jessica Bogardis. I'm the director of the Chamber of Commerce here.
Wonderful. Let's start with employer needs. So I don't know, we've got several different employers here. I'm happy to, whoever wants to start, and I'm going to take some notes.
Oh, sorry.
Does anybody else need a sign-in sheet?
Okay. So Warner Creek Correctional Facility, we estimate about 100 single-family dwellings.
Needed?
No,
How many do you need?
100 total currently and in the future. 100.
Of new homes?
Not new.
Okay, how many new do you need?
I don't. I thought it was Sorry, I guess I misunderstood the question.
When you try to hire people, do you get feedback from them that we can't find
Yes.
home housing that works for us? And are those generally individuals that have families or?
Yes. Rentals are terrible shape.
And are your employees generally looking to rent or to buy, or to rent first and then maybe buy?
Rent first, then buy, almost all of them.
And what about, so I'm just gonna put single-family rentals and for sale.
So I would say that, ongoing, we generally have 10 to 20 positions turnover a year, so, they free up some housing when those leave, but when people, if they move into the area from outside of the area, I would estimate 10 to 20 new, I guess. Because the rental, we've had families come rent, and as soon as they can transfer somewhere else, they do, because either the prices of what they would like to purchase is too high, or they can't find a better rental.
Okay.
Is that 10?
Okay.
I can add something else over there from Red Rock Biofuels. I mean, it's hard to give you an accurate number. When you ask, oh, how many new ones? What type? 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom, 5. I mean, it's hard, especially when you are hiring, new employees. In our case, our plan is to have 40, 45 employees total in that plant. Now, because we are just starting, the recruitment process, it's hard for me to tell you, oh yeah, I'm gonna need 40 new homes, right? Because at this point, the only thing that I can do is to give you an assumption. And my assumption is based on the pool that we have here in town, if we can hire 50% of the people local and 50% of the people, from other locations. So my assumption is that the locals, they already have a house or they already have a home. That's what I want to think, right? So the other 50%, of course, is people who is going to come from other cities, probably other states. It's hard for me to tell you, hey, they're going to need 2 bedrooms or they're going to need a house of 4 bedrooms, because every case is different. But I have to agree with the gentleman over there, that let's say, and I'm going to speak just by my case. I arrived here like a month and a half ago, and it was hard to find a place to rent. A place to rent. Of course, if you're coming with a family, it's even harder. So that tells me that the offer the town has for renting is not too big. And that's the reality. Now, regarding the for sale market, yeah, you can, if you go to the websites, you can find a few options. But again, the offer is not too big, because the size of the town. And also about pricing, I cannot give you a lot of feedback because, well, if I tell you, oh, I think the prices are too expensive, I mean, that's just my assumption, right? Because I'm coming from Texas. But perhaps local people can say, hey, our prices are really fair, because you are used to this price range. So pricing is hard to judge. So that's pretty much.
So it sounds like you're going to have 20 to 25 maybe employees moving here.
If I need to tell you a number, I will say around 20 families, assuming 50%.
20 units.
Yeah.
But maybe a mix of rental and for sale?
And for sale, of course.
A mix of single family and apartments?
Yeah, you can also put, some mixture there, Because again, we don't have final numbers, yet. We're just in the middle of the hiring process.
Okay, thank you, Joaquin. Nice to meet you.
Oh, nice to meet you too. But that's about permanent positions, okay? Later we can speak about seasonal housing. That's a different animal.
Okay. Talk to me about seasonal.
Okay, seasonal. In our case, we're going to be receiving a lot of contractors for the rest of the year. So between today and December the 31st, Red Rock is gonna be building, the plant, basically assembling, all the mechanical equipment. So we're gonna receive a bunch of contractors, different companies, a lot of people. Our numbers, we're forecasting around 300 employees. And that's what I call seasonal, non-permanent, right? Because these people are just coming to assemble the plant and then they're gone. Of course, the first couple of months, we could start with 50, then 100, then the peak I think is going to be around 300, and then it's going down again to 50, 200, and 100, and then everybody's gone.
And so this will be phased over the next 6 months.
Yes.
Okay.
You're going to have a ramp up, okay? So what I'm trying to explain is you won't have the 300 here constantly,
Yep.
And so you're saying your time frame for construction, you're thinking is 6 months?
Yeah, the plan, our plan is to be, the construction, it should be between now, we're using several contractors until December the 31st. Of course, it can be delayed a little bit depending on the weather,
Schedule,
conditions, yeah. But worst case, my assumption is March 2020, worst case.
To go, I'll just kind of kick in with Joaquin from the Red Rocks, Mark with the IBW. Our contractor's looking like we're gonna secure work out there. And if that's the case, whether it's us or somebody else, the electricians that are gonna be coming over are gonna be part of that 300 that you're talking about.
Yep.
And we're anticipating somewhere between 20 and 30 electricians. And so again, right along the same time frame as he's describing. And we're gonna be looking for a mix of, basically rentals if we can get them, or RV sites. Somewhere some of our members are gonna have RVs that they'd like to bring over. I stopped and talked to Jessica at the chamber. She gave me some helpful advice. But we're obviously trying to get these guys as close to town as we possibly can.
Yep.
So they don't have to, commute more than they have to.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? Okay. Lake County Hospital?
Well, Lake District Hospital.
Lake District Hospital, thank you.
We have not been a county hospital before, but we employ over 300 people. We perpetually have a shortage of housing for rentals, people that come in for short time period, people that are here longer. We've had lots of people that have come out to interview and could not find a place they felt was acceptable to buy or rent, and have not taken the job because of that. Generally speaking, their incomes are pretty good, so that some of the houses they look at, they wouldn't want to live in, that are rentals now. The quality of the buildings are not great.
So the wives are picky.
Sorry?
The wives are picky. No, I'm just kidding because I am in that case. I totally agree. It's hard to find, when you're looking for a place to live, you need to be 100%, convinced it's a place where you want to live. So because the offer is not too big, you have that problem. That's totally true. Sometimes you have to readjust your criteria. Let's put it that way. And of course we're gonna have situations where, you have a good candidate, a good employee, and then when they come here and they see, oh damn, I cannot find a good place to live, and they're gonna tell you, I'm sorry, but I'm not willing to go there.
Charlie, just a minute, please, ma'am, I'll get right to you. Are most of your employees families? Would they be looking to house a family or single people, or is it a mix?
It is a mix.
Okay.
All different kinds of mix, all different kinds of ages. But we're in a very competitive market where we're trying to convince people to come to our small community, remote community. And housing is certainly a detractor for us. There are some beautiful places, but there are some
I know this isn't going to be very popular, and I never am, but when Red Rock knew they were coming here, when the hospital was going to expand, when the corrections people knew they were coming here, they knew they were coming to a place that was essentially poor. I was born and raised here. Lakeview, the population is projected to expand to 3,200. That's what it was when I was here. And why isn't the employer going to be responsible for putting housing in? That's my point. I mean, Red Rock knew when they were coming to Lakeview that there wasn't adequate for picky wives housing here.
Yeah.
Why didn't they make a plan before they started putting down their footprint to make sure that there were houses for the employees that they knew were gonna come in? I mean, this it sounds like the onus is on Lakeview. Oh, it's bad housing, bad place, bad, you know, I mean, I just don't buy that. I think the employers are responsible as much as anybody for making sure that there's proper housing here before they ever come in.
So, and I think what we're trying to accomplish today is to identify kind of an understanding of what the needs are and what's available, and then work together, including employers as partners, to help meet the needs that we've identified. I think that's our goal, ultimately.
Yeah, and I would just want to add something. No, and totally agree with you, you know, like a company, of course, when the company decided to come to Lakeview, it was a business decision, and they knew, you know, about this problem since day one. So the purpose to be here, you know, is to be part of the solution, you know. And for everybody, I think it's a good problem to have, you know. It's what I call, you know, a good problem to have. So we're just trying to solve, but I agree with you.
Yes, sir.
I've lived in Lakeview most of my life, and it's my observation that there's a small number of new houses being built each year, but the great majority of our housing is very old. And I own a couple of rentals. One of them I fixed up very nice, and I had 3 people trying to get it before it was even on the market. It's very hard to find a nice rental. Another thing, Lakeview does not have very many apartments. That's a big shortage, in my mind, anyway.
Other employers?
Forest Service?
Yes.
Yes.
So, Barry Imler helped develop these numbers, and they're broken out a little bit here. So, if we talk about permanent housing, both either single people or with families. We're talking about 17
That are needed.
And some of that, you know, some of that's showing as like a seasonal need. So we have some permanent seasonal employees. Some of that can be temporaries with families, but I think in the end that equates to a full-time, they need a place to live, full-time. Temporary housing, say 6 months or less, we're looking at about that same number. It's about 17.
So Mike, that's what's definitely needed, but do you think if there were more houses available that people that already have homes would say, hey, I want to upgrade? Or
So I don't know whose house it is, and so I'm not saying anything bad against anybody, but I know that we have a permanent seasonal firefighter living in a house that, again, it's one of those houses that most of us, for the wife, probably wouldn't live in. It needs some work done to it, apparently a lot. So, yeah, if there was something else available that was reasonable, I'm sure they would move into something else.
Because that number seems, because I know your forest supervisor's living in a rental and he has been for 2.5 years, and so.
And I was in that boat too. I mean, I came to the area in 2002. I've looked around Lakeview probably 4 times before we moved to Lakeview. I lived in government housing in Bly. It was a better deal. It was a better house. And it seemed to work. But then when we got over here, it was still difficult to find something. And so those are kind of like, I guess those would be like the new numbers and probably the minimum. I don't know that we're looking to greatly increase our workforce necessarily, but we do have positions we're trying to fill, and those positions are coming to Lakeview.
And then you can also add the Bureau of Land Management in the same boat.
Is there anyone here from BLM? So that's maybe a follow-up item. Yeah, I would with that. And I want to go back maybe to you, Charlie, for just a minute. How many positions do you have open at any one time? Or how many people do you hire per year? Do you have a sense of that, similar to what we heard from the folks at the correctional facility?
30 to 60.
30 to 60 that you are turning over? Or?
Yes.
And some of those, I'm assuming, are being hired locally as well.
Oh, yes.
Is that per year? I mean,
Roughly.
Yeah. Okay, do we have any other employers here?
I'll speak on behalf of the others. There's another solar project or a solar project that's coming to town also, I think everybody's aware of. I don't think anybody's in the room to represent them, but I'm aware of the fact that they're also bringing about 25 to 30 electricians for that project also.
Is that Obsidian?
That is Obsidian, yeah, it's Swinnerton.
Okay.
Swinnerton and Vale Electric. And so there's gonna be a lot of temporary people here over the next 6 to 9 months.
what was the number?
That's 25 to 30 electricians, and then there'll be other construction people. I can only speak on behalf of electricians, so there will be a few others in addition to that.
Thank you.
Did you say 20? I'm sorry.
25 to 30 is what they're anticipating.
And these are seasonal?
These are seasonal, and they're already permitted and ready to go. So
Yep.
I drove out by the site today. I haven't seen anything yet, but it's imminent.
Okay. So we're getting a pretty good sense or confirmation that it is an issue for multiple employers. Do we have any other employers here?
Well, we have the county, but I don't know.
Who else do we need to hear from? I mean, I think we have a good indication that it's an issue. I think we wanted to try to get a sense of how big of an issue, and I think we've got a good sense of that. Who else should I make certain that we reach out to?
The school.
School district?
And then Pacific Pine.
So what's in red are going to be follow-up items.
BLM?
BLM.
Yeah, I've got BLM over here.
Okay.
And I think we already got. Okay.
Also-
The sawmill, Collins Company.
Yeah, Collins is missing and so is Cornerstone. They all receive the info.
Okay, we'll do one-on-one follow-up with them. Anything else before we hear from the town and the county about available land for building? Yes.
I was thinking about this issue and just sitting there for about 10 minutes, I made a list of very elderly people that are living alone in big family space housing. And my list came to about 30 that I knew right off the top of my head. Most like in 85, 90s, that age group. And I've talked to some of them, and I think that if we were to build some housing for them that was not like an assisted living, not like a nursing home, where they felt like they were on their own, had their own kitchen, living area, closets in their bedroom, that sort of thing, I think they might, really think about moving.
A small home
Yeah.
or something like that.
Kind of like the manor.
Are there any senior housing communities in Lakeview already?
Yes, there is one, and they always have a waiting list. So if we sell them elderly person's house, because it's too big, but they have to get on the waiting list first to get in there. And then there is some low-income housing, but that doesn't really fit sometimes the seniors.
I think it'd have to be very nice, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not gonna write up there very nice. I'm gonna assume you want all. Anything else before we hear from the town and the county?
Just
Yes,
quick-
I forgot, I don't remember, but I know who you're affiliated with.
It's okay.
Go ahead.
Steve Brown.
Thank you, Steve.
Just a quick question, as you move into talking about new and areas to build new houses. I know for transitions, if some of the current rental houses were in a better shape, it would, I know in our instance, it would help facilitate new families coming in, feeling comfortable about rent. I think, I don't know how many rentals there are in Lakeview, but of the ones that are available, the feedback I get from our staff is it takes them a long time to find one that they want to live in. And then, and of course, at some point, they want to, I don't know if anybody we've hired in the last 7 years I've been there that stays doesn't want to buy a house in Lakeview. So it's a transition type home. So I just want to point out, I don't know that we need to build, I'm not saying we don't need to, more new rentals, we may, but if the current ones were in a little better quality, I think a lot of the businesses that have permanent positions here full-time, their needs would be met better. And then those people would then go to a builder and say, hey, I want to build a house on this piece of property, or I bought this land over here. Lots of our folks will go buy 10 acres here or a building lot there and then hire a local builder to build a home. So just want to say, I know we have a handful of rentals locally already, and the challenge is the quality. So if we build additional rentals that are of better quality, what's going to happen to the rentals that are not quality now? People won't rent them, would be my guess.
Betty, I don't want to put you on the spot, but do you want to spend just a little bit of time talking about the work that SCOED is doing on housing rehab?
Well, first of all, I've been researching all potential funding for housing rehab. Most of the funds that are out there are for owner-occupied low-income housing rehab, not rental properties. There is one program that USDA has that can assist a low-income person living in a rental property as long as the landlord is willing to agree to maintain that house in low-income rental status for 7 years, which is in some cases possible, but it is a constraint for some landowners. So most of the housing rehab funds that are available that we are looking to try to apply for, so we have those ones, are for low-income owner-occupied homes and not for mobile homes older than 76. So we have to be very careful also about the fact that we have a lot of mobile homes that are substandard also.
Thank you. Ken?
Just as a concern for thought, things I'm hearing around town is that on a lot of the rentals, a lot of them are occupied by a single parent working part-time, but Segway or whatever. If you get an influx of people and the landlord raises their price to accommodate the influx, you're going to have a side effect of low-income folks without housing. And those are our citizens also.
So there is a law, there is an Oregon law that prohibits raising the rent more than 7% per year. So they can't jack the prices up It's illegal.
It's actually consumer price index plus something. For this year it was 7%. It
Yeah,
won't be
they just signed
7%.
it in.
Yeah, exactly.
Always,
Right.
so.
That's a new law, isn't it?
It is a new law, yes.
So in 3 years, I can raise my rent 21%.
It depends on what the consumer price index is for each
It's not
year.
gonna work. Yeah, it's not gonna do what it was.
Other employer needs that we should, or needs that we talk about needs more broadly, and appreciate that. Okay, why don't we move on then, and hear from Janine about what's available in the town of Lakeview to build on. I need to move this, don't I? Right in front of the map.
Darwin and I were going to.
You're gonna tag team, so how do I get this, I'm gonna get this out of the way all together, so these two can make eye contact and.
I've got a question for you, Annette. Does this discussion about where the land's available, does that include potential for temporary housing?
I'm gonna
Okay.
ask the town attorney.
That's why for the whole temporary issue of the 3 to 6 month type housing that's needed is a whole different issue, of course, than the ongoing. I was wondering if this discussion of available lands will include that at all. The reason it comes to mind is because Prineville, as you know, has data centers, and they've had years and years of this, and so they actually did add to their zoning ordinance provision for camps, basically, where people bring the trailers on industrial land.
On industrial.
As a temporary use while this is not used. I didn't know if that had been discussed or if that's a possibility for the discussion. Okay.
So I heard somebody say that's in the works, so I don't know
Yeah, that would
how
be very
many
helpful.
temporary slots that will be.
They'll talk about it.
Well, what are you? Darwin?
So I'm glad, I didn't introduce myself. I'm Darwin Johnson.
Oh, I'm sorry,
No, that's all
Darwin.
right. I'm hiding behind the computer over here. I knew I was on the agenda, so I had to speak anyways. What I pulled up on the map is the town of Lakeview zoning, and I don't have these, each of these colors described, obviously on this Google Earth map, but all the yellow is our residential zone. Okay, so that's where any of these housing types that we've talked about are going to be most likely outright permitted and would be something that the town would likely be able to connect services to, hopefully relatively easily, water and sewer, and then then we can look at other areas to rezone if we had to. But there, we have just completed or at the final stages of a housing needs analysis for the community, which didn't really look at housing, how old these houses are, the shape of these houses. That's a whole other study that we'll try to undertake here shortly as well. But really was looking at the amount of acreages that was available for residential use within the urban growth boundary of Lakeview. So Janine can speak more to the town's zoning itself, but there are a number of areas that are zone residential, that are close to town or in town, that what I think as the planner that I see, also wear another hat as a town council, but it's really come down to, at least from what we saw in the housing needs analysis, and a lot of the same things we continue to hear repeated, was that if we were to build new housing, we have to have contractors. That's probably our number one problem is tradespeople here, to be actually able to find a willing buyer or seller or both, and then actually get a contract underway to actually build a new dwelling.
So can we go back to the map? Are there any lands that are in the yellow area where you have an existing subdivision that has already been platted, approved, served, and there aren't homes on those sites?
That was the information that I have.
Yep, great, excellent. So you go ahead and share that now.
So-
And I can zoom to them.
Well, start with Creekside. Creekside subdivision is our newest subdivision. It's 26 lots. There's 6 developed. So it's fully in place, fully serviced. I believe that the developers are, they're ready to sell.
Motivated.
They're here.
Yes, we are.
They're in the audience.
We
could
answer that for you.
And there's room for 75 more lots already platted right behind it.
Just south of it, right?
Just south of it, that field right
Which
there
is
is
this
all
field.
platted.
And was that part of, what we call that part of Creekside, or would
Yeah.
that be a different?
We did phase 1 and phase 2 13 years ago.
All single residency,
Yeah.
or is it medium or high density?
It can be, we can easily change 2nd or 3rd Street, whatever the street is, right there. to-
The zoning currently allows single-family dwellings and duplexes and triplexes.
We just have to change the CCNR, which we can easily do.
So,
How
high
many acres
density,
how many acres is the back parcel?
20.
And the front parcel?
10,
And what's this called, Five Creek?
Creekside.
So the backside's 20 acres?
So the question I'd love to know from the local people here, there's a terrible need for housing. We hear it from everybody here. Why there's lots ready to be built on. Why aren't you investing in your community?
I can
Why-
probably answer that.
Why is nobody building a house here
Well,
in the
because
community? I mean, there's, Red Rock is here, the hospital is here, the school is here, the Forest Service, the BLM, I mean, the prison. Everybody's here needing houses, but the local people will not invest in their community.
Who are
building
you?
costs
Who are you?
is the biggest.
We own that right there. We own that.
But I mean, who
subdivision.
are you? Are you not from here?
We're from Medford. We came over, we did this in Klamath Falls, and we came to Lakeview, we did the same thing. We saw a terrible need for lots in Lakeview, Oregon. So we came over and hired Dog Lake Construction, and they put in a subdivision. We thought we'd sell them like we did in Klamath in 2 weeks. We can't sell them.
Was that in anticipation when Iberdrola was planning to build a biomass?
Hall Safe Company was here, the correction facility was here, there was a lot of activity going on. I mean, we thought by now the hospital, the medical community would need something. We saw a lot of potential, and for 13 years, we've been done.
Well, it's the cost of building, and that's the biggest thing, is John built a house, he said the house he built a year ago, he cannot build for that cost right now. And that's, I mean, he wanted to build another spec home. My husband built 4 of the 6 that are in that subdivision, but when you go to work it all out, you can't seem to get it to where it's gonna comp. So in other words, if you do a building loan, the bank comes in and says, we've got to find some comps that are going to comp this house when it's done being built. And a new house, they want 40% down. So if the house is going to end up being $300,000, the person building has to come up with 20%. So it's a big deal on a new home.
Not for first-time home buyers.
Yeah, so, well, a lot of the banks, though, if you go in and talk to Washington Federal, that's what they had to come up with. Because so many people were burned when the economy dipped and all those people had that new construction going on. So, I mean, my husband wanted to build a spec home and I wouldn't let him. So, so he retired, but, yeah. But
I think I want to explore that a little bit more. I think that's one of the purposes of our
That's all.
conversation today.
And I think that's a more important discussion
Yes.
than
So
knowing
let's
about.
find, I'm interested in what else is available.
Yeah.
So it looks like you've got 20 lots that are already served and ready to go.
Annette, could I ask just one
Yes,
quick question?
Randy.
That all of Lake County or Lakeview is in the opportunity zone, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
So these lots are in the opportunity zone?
All these lots are in the opportunity?
The whole,
Yeah.
whole county, the whole half of the county, from Paisley down. Yep.
So, Celtic,
They only have
Street, Celtic subdivision,
Since it's
is a smaller subdivision, but there are 4 lots there.
North, south, I'm trying to remember which one.
9th and East Street.
How many
Where
lots?
John
4.
has built 2 of the houses there.
John's built 2 of the houses there, so. Yeah, so that's down by behind the DMV probably is where you're looking. So that's, East
Oh, right
Street.
there, yeah.
These 2 and these 2?
The Victorians, the 2 Victorians.
Oh, no, on this side.
Uh-huh.
And I'm not sure, the last I heard was that those 2
Yes.
existing homes split that one lot.
Mhm.
And-
No, she bought it.
Oh, did
She owns it.
Okay. so it might, Darwin well, I guess it is annexed to the town, but in the south part of town, south of 9th Street, Tall Country, between 10th and 11th,
You're talking about.
where the new Head
To the
Start-
left.
Oh,
Where the new Head
here,
Start
here,
is.
here, all this stuff.
And how many lots are there?
There's only four vacant ones, I believe. Well, 5, yeah. 5.
That's
These
the
2 and then
school.
these 3 here.
Then we have a new owner,
This is all Head Start right here. and these 6.
Lots are ready to go.
and all 3 of those are fully serviced. They'd be ready for a permit.
And have geothermal. There's some geothermal.
Oh,